But what I worry about is in trying to listen, which is good, and in trying to be humble, which is also good, people are sort of indiscriminately absorbing these ideas that are out there in the culture that are actually toxic and dangerous. And a great example of that is the #1 Amazon bestseller for the last 2 weeks has been Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, which is a very, very dangerous book. And she is actually on her website listed as a critical race and social justice educator. So she's the most well-known critical race theorist in the world right now. And in the book, it's interesting, now that you can understand how critical race theory thinks about truth and truth claims, but in her book, her basic thesis is that white people are fragile. So she's all white people have a deeply racist worldview and deeply racist patterns, and they're socialized into racism. They just are, and she's white. And when you say that, they get offended, and that's a symptom of their white fragility.
Okay.
And if you start disagreeing with her, what's that?
It's a game stopper for conversation.
Well, more than that, given her thesis that white people are racist and fragile, what is your option as a white person? You can either say, yes, I agree, I am racist and fragile. But if you disagree, she'll say, that's your fragility speaking. See, you're afraid to admit your deep racism, so you prove that you're racist by being fragile. So it really puts people in this double bind where there's no way you just have to, again, believe what she says. And any disagreement is evidence that that she's right. And then the #2 book, and more than that, she says other things in other writings. For example, there's an article about, I think it's called Dismantling Whiteness in Nursing. But the quote she gives in the article is this: the question is not, was this racism? But rather, how did racism manifest in this situation? Mm-hmm. And in the book White Fragility, she says that she's very emphatic. She says racism cannot be absent from interracial friendships. It cannot. It is always there in every interracial friendship. Now, think about that worldview. If someone actually absorbed those ideas, that in every friendship, interracial friendship, the white person was constantly trying to reassert their white dominance, was trying to gain power over the person of color. If every act they performed, the question is not, was that act racist, but how was it racist? That is the death of the church. That is the death of interracial friendships. That is the death of everything. Mm-hmm. And if you say DiAngelo, that sounds like a very poisonous way to view the world, she would say that's because you're fragile. Mm-hmm. So, and I have seen large evangelical ministries, pastors recommending this book. And it is terrifying to me because it is not the way to achieve racial unity. It's the way to destroy it. It is not the way to lament and to build one another up in Christ. It's a way to destroy any kind of semblance of unity or kindness or compassion or like-mindedness. And so we have to be aware of, I know it's a bestseller and people are all reading it, but you have to read it critically. Don't just take it as another book in the canon, because it's not.